What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kicked in the Ass podcast. Sorry for the lack of content lately. I just haven't really been in a good headspace. Life gets busy and things get crazy, and I just had to put it on the back burner for a minute. But I just want to say I appreciate everybody's love and support and people that reached out to me and told me they got a good laugh out of it or they liked what I talked about. Stuff like that. Anyway, uh, came to the conclusion. I hadn't dealt with one in a while, but like, you ever dealt with somebody that they feel like the company's money is their money? Like they feel like everything you do is coming out of their pocket, like fucking yard dogs. Probably my least favorite people. And for those who don't pipeline, a yard dog is pretty much what it sounds like. So he sits at the tool shed and makes sure nobody's jipping him or coming in and ransacking the place like a bunch of fucking pirates. Which, I mean, it can happen. It has happened, like especially when shit's going south and people are, dragging up, aka quitting for those who don't pipeline, and they drag up and they just take the place for everything that's worth. But I mean, I get the purpose of yard dog, but in the same sense, like some of them that you deal with can be peckerheads. Like, where your gloves are gonna turn in. Like, okay, you gonna wash them? Like, you gonna sew them together and make a blanket out of them, Bill? Like, my bad, dude. Like just people that stringe for every penny that you can to for the company. It's like it's ridiculous, but. I don't know, like people in higher positions in companies, they think it translates to real life. Like I'm here to tell you, like that paycheck, it will not stop you from an ass whooping. Like people, they think just because they are in an elevated position, like you could go outside of that job and shout it to the mountains, like I'm the regional manager. Nobody is gonna give a shit. Nobody cares. But because you're in that position, in that place, they think that they are. And honestly, that's a problem everywhere. Whether you work at a damn pizza shop or a law firm, people get really elevated and big headed. And I think arrogance is, you know, it's a disease. And a good cure for it is an ass one. Because, like, one day you're going to run into a guy that has nothing to lose. Like, he doesn't have kids, he doesn't have a wife. He just started this job. He started this job because his friend was like, hey, bro, check this out. And you're going to come across him wrong, and he's going to fucking tune your ass up. And I've seen it happen, and it's bound to happen in the future. But apparently it doesn't happen enough because, some people get conceited, and they think, just because they're the big boss that you owe them something that they don't ever. I'm not telling you go to a company and don't put in. I go in every day and put in 100% effort, even if the leadership in front of me is a bunch of shitbags, because that's called integrity and doing the best that I do because I have a reputation to uphold. However, um, don't sit here and take flack off of people just because they're in a higher position. Sometimes I struggle with that line of doing the right thing, you biting your tongue. I've definitely struggled with that in the past. People trying me, and they know that I have a lot riding on said job, and they do it on purpose to antagonize you, and to it's hard to maintain your dignity when you have a certain level of pride because you don't want to taint that dignity in your name, your reputation, to knock somebody's block off because of them mouthing off at you, or even if it's a repetitive thing. That's a really hard balance and struggle um, that I've worked through in life. I don't know, and maybe it's God's lesson to me because I've had to deal with a lot of assholes, and I've gotten a lot better, but I used to have, I still do, depending on certain things, but a really bad temper. But it's what I'm trying to say is when you it's hard to ride that line of morality and doing what you know is right. So, you know, would it be, does that guy deserve to be hit in the mouth? Absolutely. But you got to think about cost for yourself and cause and effect afterward. Is it really worth that? And then say, that were to tarnish your uh, reputation in the future. Uh, that's a hard struggle and balance. And some people prey on that, and beware of those kind of people. Those are not the people. I try to, if anybody's like a nuisance or there's somebody I just don't jive with, I try to keep those people at a distance, and I believe that's the best measure. And sometimes it's unavoidable. You got to deal with them sometimes, especially when they're your boss or whatever. But just try your best to keep them at a distance and limit uh, interaction. That's been my measure, and it's worked pretty good. I can't say I haven't lost some sleep. Like, damn, dude, you should have just stuck that dude in the mouth. But um, it's paid off. I sleep better not knowing that I didn't give them the gratification of giving in to what they were trying to play. But excuse me. Um, yeah, I just want to like guys that I work around and people that I know. Um, talking about the dating world and stuff like that. And I've been out of that world for a while, 6 years now to my wife. But you know, I'm just still appalled by these women that have been passed around like a peace pipe and demand something. Like, what do you bring to the table? 4 kids, uh, no job because you live off child support, uh, no skills, and you demand a guy to have 6 figures, be a certain height, have all these qualities coming into a relationship, and all you bring is baggage. Like, not diminishing that child's life for, whoever they're with, their family or whatever, but, or women in general. I mean, I was raised by my mother. I have 2 daughters myself, but when you didn't have the respect for yourself in the past, now you come to the table and all of a sudden you think the slate is clear. I don't think that's very fair to somebody that's actually providing, doing something, making a difference in the world. And just because you have something between your legs, you think that gives you power, which it does in most circumstances, but to the right person that knows their value, probably wouldn't fair to interact with that. But yeah, finally watched Game of Thrones. I knocked it out shamefully in about. It's been kind of slow at work, so I knocked it out in about 2 weeks. And normally I don't really ride the hype train because I try to. I don't know. It's just like when everybody's talking about something and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's the greatest thing ever." I was like, I don't want to. But no, the hype was real. I don't know. I like to do it on my own time, and but I finally watched it. It was awesome. But before um, before I even watched the show, I had a friend describe it to me. He was like, "Yeah, it's titties and swords." Um, it's a very very blunt, uh, maybe brief, but accurate statement. Good, fantastic storyline though. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. But I think it's kind of strange, how some of the traditions from the Gilded Ages translate to today. Like wanting a son to pass on the family name, handing down businesses to your kids, community select the leader. I mean, to me, I can only imagine how it felt to be ruled by a teenager because they were the rightful heir to the throne. Like, it must be like when you're 20 years into a job and some, snobby ass college kid comes in and is like, "Oh yeah, I'm the new project manager because I have a bachelor's degree in physiology," that has fuck all to do with the job that you're doing. Um, you know, Same thing like in the military, a butter bar coming up to a combat vetted staff sergeant and being like, "Yeah, this is how you're going to run your platoon." Like, yeah, it probably wouldn't fare very well. But you know, I don't know. These past couple weeks, I don't know. Like I said before, the gauntlet with the medications and trying different medications and what works and what doesn't. Like, it's helped with my anxiety and everything, but in the same sense, the cost doesn't really outweigh the effect. Um, it has been like, excuse me, it has the effect of the medicine. Like, yeah, it subsides my anxiety, but in the same sense, I feel like a drone. I just feel like I'm going through the motions, and I used to be a person, and I want to get back to that person that I spoke with passion. I did things with passion, very motivated, and had a fire in me, and I want to reignite that fire. And I feel like it. Some of these medications, yeah, it subsides one problem, but it dulls. I feel like it has dulled my personality. And a lot of people are gonna be like, "Why are you putting your business out like that on the internet?" Because this is something that needs to be done. Somebody needs to talk about it. Somebody needs to eloquate their feelings and the turmoil inside, because that's not common amongst men at all, especially blue collar men and people in those tighter circles, because it's seen as taboo. Because I mean, we're providers. We fight for our family, and we're meant to protect our family. At least that's the way I was raised. I don't know how some of these candy asses how they were raised, but I was raised to, you provide and you protect for your family. That's your job as a man. And a lot of that, a lot of your own issues get buried. A lot of your own turmoil gets put to the side because you have to keep moving. And I believe that somebody expressing that turmoil within could help somebody else reach out and talk to somebody, talk to God, talk to a therapist, talk to their wife. And I know it's hard as shit for me to express any emotion. Uh, it's sad to say, but it's true, because as a man, like, sometimes you have to be platonic, because when you're in this state of chaos, you have to be the one that strikes forward, the one that cuts the path, and that's not easy. And that, as you're trotting down this path, you're the weight keeps. It's like having a backpack on, and every mile you go, somebody throws a weight in there. By the time you get to 20 miles, it's pretty fucking heavy. And I believe it's important to relieve that weight. Um, and that doesn't get done enough. But anyway, so I'm just, fuck it, dude. I'm just gonna raw dog it. Like, I'm just I'm not gonna take the meds anymore. Um, yeah, I'll have anxiety, but I'll deal with it. And I just want to feel like me again. That's what I want to do. And hopefully, you know, things will get better. And I know with God's guidance, it will, and things will turn around. But anyway, you know, it may sound a bit barbaric, but honestly, some days, I wouldn't mind it being like in the Wild West, when you could just check a motherfucker, you know? Like, you got a serious beef with somebody, and you can just say, let's go outside, dude. And just may the best man win, just get in that smoke wagon, and maybe I'll sleep better knowing you're dead. Or maybe you will yourself. Um, just seemed like a much more tame and polite society whenever these things were in place. Like, and I speak of this because you go into places, and like, especially a damn grocery store. I know I've bitched about it 100 times on this podcast, but it's like every time I go in, dude, like, you let a lady go past, because that's the way that I was raised. And when somebody's about to enter the door, you stop, let them go in, don't cut in front of them. Obviously, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And you treat everybody with a common respect until they give you a reason not to, and that has been absolutely lost in society in some places, not all. I wouldn't even say most, but in a lot of places, I guess. Um, because like like the other day, I was walking through an aisle and I had like everything was choked off. Like I was going through an aisle, I looked down that aisle, and there's fucking 15 people here. I go down this aisle, look down that aisle, and there's 20 people there, and I'm like, shit, dude. The only choice I had was to go forward and walk past this lady. And like in grocery stores now, they're condensing, just stores in general, they're condensing everything so they can just fit more and more shit. So the aisles are smaller. So I had no choice but to like barely skim by this woman. And I was like, hey, excuse me, ma'am, walking through, and she just at me. Like, I could have just been like, fuck you, and blew right through like everybody else does. But I don't. And like that's like I said before, keeping that integrity and trying to stay on that path of trying to be better. It's hard to do, especially in common everyday interactions. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's just my crazy brain, but like stuff like that really just fires me up. But anyway, yeah, like speaking of Game of Thrones and stuff, like seeing characters in other shows, it really messes me up because I always see them as that character. I guess like really skilled actors, they can break out of those chains. Like Tom Hanks. Like I didn't see him as Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan. But I feel like just with certain characters that they polarize that role. You just always remember them as that. Like I know I'm gonna get cussed for this, but I can't remember his name that played Frodo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. Everything I see him in, like that's Frodo. There he is. It's weird to see him in like different shows and different contexts because you always remember them as that character. But yeah, people, especially of late, I think with the age of technology and how everything's like such short term content, like people become famous for anything, and I try to avoid situations for it, but I just beg, that I pray that I don't wind up in a situation where you just become famous for the dumbest thing, like the breakdancing girl at the Olympics or the Hawk Tuah girl that we've seen 2 million memes about. But it just goes to show how fast it goes because they're there, they're gone, they're there, they're gone, and the next week it's something else to talk about and make a meme about, and I believe that's kind of prolific to the time because to me it's not that I want to go conquer the world. It's just that I would like to my stamp, what I'm remembered by, to be something uh, prolific in somebody's life. For me to be like, that was a good guy. He was a good man. That's all I ask for. I don't want to be known as some great ruler. Somebody that was a CEO of. That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be awesome. But at the end of the day, my biggest goal for me personally is just to be remembered as a good man. That's one of my biggest goals in life. And like with my children and my daughters, I want them to say, Daddy was always there, which they will, because there's nothing that will stop me from being a good dad. The things that I endured and went through, and with my father and everything, it was a blessing in disguise. It through the times that it's hard because you, as a man, you need a role model. You need a man to look up to kind of mold yourself out of. And for me, because I didn't have that, I took bits and pieces from men that I respected and that I admired, and some that, to no benefit to them at all, took me under their wing just because they were good people and showed me the ropes and whatever I was doing, and in life in general. And I love that, and I appreciate that, and I will not forget it. But I feel like the best statement you can make in life is, when you come from a conflicted situation like that, is rising out of those ashes and molding yourself into something that is better than any result that anybody can imagine. And I, for one, at the end of the day, I'm not perfect at all, uh, but I'm pretty damn proud of myself and my brother, and my mother for coming out of situations that we have, uh, against all odds, you know, even due to the circumstances where, we had every excuse in the world to just say, oh, roll over and die, and just say, my dad left me, and, and become a drug addict, or, troubled, or whatever. But to me, it was the total opposite. To me, it was like, why would I ever want to? I want to prove those people wrong. I want to prove the odds wrong in general. I want to prove him wrong. But I don't need that. I can go and I can make something of myself. I can do something regardless of what cards you dealt me. I don't give a damn what cards you gave me. I'm going to make the house out of what I want to make it out of, not what you gave me. And that mentality right there, and I'm far from done, very young, far from done, but has taken me to the point that I am where I'm at now. And I'm very grateful for those trials and tribulations, and through God's guidance to helping me become a better person. And sometimes, it's hard, man. It's not easy. It's not just a straightforward path. And it was hard for me because, you search for, well, what should I be? What should I do? How should I act? Because being a man and just a person in general, like you want to know who you are. And I think that's a lot of the trouble with especially young men and just boys that don't have a father, is because they don't have that guiding light. And I don't know the statistic on it, but I do know that, the success rate, whatever you want to define success as, is a lot higher with males that have fathers in their lives, and it makes a huge difference. And I'll, my girls will say that. They will say, their dad was a good dad. They will say that I was there because Dad's going to make it happen, regardless. And that is my biggest and front and foremost mission in life. But yeah, I don't know. Like scrolling through social media and stuff, I see these videos of these people that do pizza reviews, and it's like the market is so saturated in different things. Like, I wish I had a time machine, because I would go back like 4 years ago and get me and some buddies together, and we'd make like golfing YouTube videos, because like obviously everybody wants to be a YouTube golfer, but dude, like the bankroll these guys are making, these young men in my age are making, some older, off of recording themselves doing things. It's insane. And like, the ones that I can't stand is like pizza review people. Like, listen, motherfucker, if I want to know what a pizza tastes like, I'm gonna go taste it. I'm gonna go eat it. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't look on Yelp every time I go to a restaurant. I just go find out for myself, because I've had that happen. I've been to some places where everybody's like, yeah, it's jam up, it was terrible. And then I've been to some places like, yeah, it was horrible, and it was amazing. It all just depends on that's what I'm saying. It varies. Like, you got to go in and see for yourself. And like these pizza review guys, like, God, I don't know who made the choice and the common consensus that the word for a pizza is pie, but you were wrong. It is a pizza, and I can hear those Italian fingers raising. Calm down, But it's not a fucking pie. It's a pizza. Like, it just makes me cringe when people do that shit. Like, people calling soda a pop. It's a soda. What do you see on a cartoon? 9 times out of 10. soda when it has a can. When they have a can of a drink on a cartoon or a TV show, soda. It's fucking soda. Rough and crick and home and all this other shit. It's just like differences from north and south, like I've explained before. But anyway, freaking college football season is coming up next week. This is the last weekend without college football, and I am so fucking excited. Um, First and foremost, I'm a diehard Florida State fan and have been my entire life. And to me, at first, I thought, we got snubbed in the playoffs. Okay, the criteria for entering the playoffs in the college football playoff was that you have to be conference champions and no more than one loss, I do believe. And 13 or a 2-loss Alabama team that won their conference got in above us. We got snuffed out. Okay, won the ACC championship with our second and third string quarterback, scraped it out to an undefeated season, and we went in the Orange Bowl and got our asses kicked by Georgia. Yeah, and all you fucking people that say like, oh yeah, what's that score? I think it was 63-3. I'll tell you right here, it was 63-3. You know why? Because half of the fucking roster opted out because they were either going in the NFL or they weren't going to play that bowl game because they want to save themselves for next season for the fucking vengeance tour they're going to unleash. I cannot wait to see how that plays out, and I hope it does. I'm really doubtful about the QB room. I guess, our secondary backup that we had behind Jordan Travis last year, he's still a secondary backup, but I take Coach Norvell as somebody that has enough discretion to, if they have a talent level, that's where they're going to be. So, and this however the hell you say it, is the second string quarterback, or is the first string quarterback for our team that came over from Oregon State. So, obviously, if he's still first, he must have a talent level. I've watched tape on him at different teams. Did good at Oregon State, but I mean, players, they have to grow, and they get the experience and the knowledge. Like Jordan Travis wasn't on fire when he first started either, but wound up being almost a Heisman winner by his. It should have been before that freak accident. It could have been. He was great, but anyway. As this season starts, like, I just want to say thank you to RG3 for his statement on Florida State and us getting stuck. Like, I was mad as hell about it for a couple months. I really was. But there's no sense in whining about it because the past is the past. But RG3 made a statement on it, and he defended Florida State, saying, that it's not something to take lightly of because of Paul. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Really don't give a shit. Feinbaum, however the fuck you want to say it. He looks like a nutsack with ears. This dude shits on Florida State every chance he can. I mean, he said that they're probably too busy wiping off their tears from being snuffed out of the playoff last year. He predicted us to not even get in the playoff with a 12-team playoff. Like, homeboy, I got news for you. Like, I guarantee you we'll be in. I'm not saying we'll win it all, because, look at Georgia. No way. But we're not going to be unranked, and we'll definitely be in the playoffs. And anyway, so RG3 made the statement afterwards, and coincidentally, 2 days later, with 2 years still left on his contract, he gets fired. And so does the wife of a former Florida State quarterback that was with ESPN. Now, I am, but not to a crazy degree, a conspiracy theorist, but I'm just saying, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And, yeah, they both get fired. And after they defended Florida State, and it's like, at first I thought it was kind of inflated by the fans of, like, the beef with ESPN and Florida State. But, like, after that, it's legit to me. But okay, I'm going to let's see. I'll look this up. So every year, every single year, um, Ohio State is in the top three in the country, no matter what. Okay. As a player, it makes sense to go there. You have a cupcake schedule. It's a highly touted and beloved team because of money. So you get the national media coverage. It makes sense to go there as a player. So they recruit highly, which is great. That's awesome. But you cannot tell me that every year these people deserve to be in the top five. Second of all, their schedule is among the easiest in the country. Now, as Florida State, I know we don't have a very tough schedule as an ACC team, but the proof is in the pudding. And every time, I believe Ryan Day, their head coach. I can't remember the exact statistic, but I do know that he's only won a couple. If less than, I know it's less than five against top 10 opponents. And every time they come up against somebody that is a formidable opponent of another conference, they get fucked up. And they don't hold up to the hype. They choke out. And so look what we did with Georgia. We should have won that game. Yeah, but you didn't. And Georgia was thinking the same way I'm thinking now, and they just came in there like, "Oh, it's gonna be another breeze. We're gonna roll right through them," and they got checked, and that happens. And congratulations to them. But hopefully they have a chance to beat Michigan this year with a change of head coach. And I know their recruiting suffered because of it, but the proof is in the pudding, man. And for what frustrates me the most about it is like, okay, if I went into a dodgeball tournament as a 250-pound, 6-foot grown man and whooped everybody's ass, people would laugh at me, right? That's how I feel about Ohio State. They go in there against pee-wee high school football teams and schools for the blind, whoop their asses, and either choke out or toe the line barely with, whenever that challenge is when they're met with that challenge. That's what frustrates me about it. It's like the dude, the meme of the guy biting the gold medal, and there's like 15 other deserving people right beside him. It's like, yeah, that's how I feel about Ohio State, because, yeah, I would blow them out of the water if I went to a dodgeball competition in an elementary school. That's how I feel about Ohio State. That's how I feel about their schedule. That's my point. And it's just like the arrogance. And there's some that speak the truth. There's not every fan is a bad fan. There's some that do speak the truth. But some of them are just delusional, like, oh no, man, we're the best, number one, and then Michigan comes in there and just fucking smacks that ass for them. And I love it. I live for it. It's great. Hopefully, that was another rumor too, that Florida State was in the reach of going to the Big Ten. Maybe that'll happen, and maybe we'll face them every year, and I hope we do. And I hope a couple times, maybe we'll lose. That's good, because that'll be a piece of humble pie. But I can guarantee you we'll be getting some dubs. And for them to be in Columbus, not too far away from me, to go see Florida State, that would be awesome. But anyway, enough football talk. I know I lost like any female viewers like 10 minutes ago. But I'm excited, because to me, it is a tradition that runs deep. And I remember being on my dad's shoulders at Doak Campbell when I was a toddler. It's just something that gets me fired up, something to look forward to every weekend, and I love it. And like, along with that, dude, like subscription services to get it. Like, I got YouTube TV. It works. I got to watch every Florida State game last year with YouTube TV, and there's like add-ons and stuff. But even the basic subscription covers most major games. But like just the gauntlet you have to go through to watch football games is unreal. Like, okay, you subscribe to ESPN Plus, and you don't get basic ESPN coverage. What kind of horseshit is that? Besides like watching, like the Olympics or replays of UFC fights, what's the benefit to it? I don't know. The only reason why I keep it is because, like, in order to watch UFC cards, you have to have ESPN Plus, and it saves you like $10 on the freaking $100 card you got to pay for whenever you want to watch a fight card. But I just think if there's any tech geniuses out there that want to just, like, you would be one of the richest people in this country if you would just culminate every channel, structure it to where every team in the nation in Division I NCAA football is covered, and make a streaming service out of it, of just that. No fluff, no, oh, we got Grey's Anatomy, excuse me, over here, and we've got, Spanish soap operas here. No, I'm talking about just straight up college football. You would be a millionaire overnight. Just saying, it's a good idea. I don't know how to do it. Wish I did, because I would. But it's a genius idea. But for all the people, I just want to say, like, seriously, I'm humbled and I'm flattered that people have reached out to me and be like, man, I'm glad you're doing this, and I love what you share on your podcast and all those other things. It means a lot. And regardless of what happens in the future, I will be putting out content. Like I said before, I don't care about views. I don't care about it blowing up. All I care about is me genuinely being myself and expressing that and putting my opinions and ideas out there. And if anybody has a counterpoint or wants to reach out to me about something they want to speak about with topics, feel free to. And anyway, until next time, thank you for tuning in to the Kicked in the Ass podcast. See you.